So my name is Joel Miller, and I agreed to do this video because I care about people. I care about the community, and I feel like right now the community is in a crisis. It's an epidemic going on right now that everybody's aware of, but nobody's talking about, and it's gun violence.
That gun destroyed my heart. It took a piece of my heart. They are designed to take this figure, and I did just that. I took my friend's life, and I disfigured mine. Every day, I scrape up a little bit of me from the years before picking up that gun, the peaceful years, and I try to get a little bit of me back every day, still today at 38.
Gun violence is an epidemic right now. The American Public Health Association actually classifies gun violence as a contagion. As people commit violence, the people that surround them commit violence as well. If you're involved in violence, then the chances are that the people that you're associating with will be involved in gun violence too, and it has to stop.
I carry guns, I smoke weed, I drank. Actually, I lived the life of an adult when I should have been living the life of a child. It didn't add up to anything. It was cut real short. And I found myself in prison at the age of 15.
I'm convicted of first-degree murder, gang participation, a fleece or robbery, firearm uses, and malicious wounding.
I'm incarcerated for a robbery, use of a firearm, commission of a firearm by a convicted felon.
I'm convicted for first-degree extreme indifference murder, second-degree murder, and possession of a weapon by a previous offender.
I was charged with armed robbery, conspiracy to rob, the use of a firearm to commit a felony, and the wearing of a mask in a public place without the consent of the establishment. I was sentenced to 33 years, and that 33 years was suspended down to 7 years to actually serve. A friend of mine, his mom was an ex-military person, and so she had a few guns around the house, two of which he knew she wasn't really using a lot. And so he took them from her and then brought them to my house to show them to me. So we're kind of looking at the guns, you know, thinking about where we're gonna hide them at and that kind of stuff. And then we decided that I would hold them. And the way that the gun was discovered actually was that unbeknownst to me, my little brother saw that I had it and saw that I put it in there. And he went in there snooping around to see what I hid in there, and he found it. And he shot the gun in the shed. And so of course, you know, I wasn't there for that, but my dad went running down to figure out what happened. So he took the gun and he asked him where he got it from. He said he don't know, but we get into an altercation with some guys, you know, they want to fight and all of that. And they jump us, they beat us up. And so my reaction to that is, I'm gonna go get this gun out the shed. So I run to the shed to get the gun, and when I'm searching for it, my dad is behind me, and he says, "Oh yeah, you looking for something?" But then maybe 2 weeks later, the other gun that we had, we sold it to a person, and that person used that gun in a crime and got caught. So then of course they notified the owner of the gun, and then that's how my friend's mom found out that her guns were missing. So then my dad and his mom tied it all together.
I was given my first gun. It wasn't no gift. It wasn't anything that you would see on your birthday, Christmas, you know, things like that. It wasn't a gift. It was a torch. It was a torch. I had graduated into the next league.
My father, he was well off in the criminal world. So I never thought about using a gun until after he passed away. He passed away when I was 12. I can't recall the exact age where I started carrying a gun. However, I can say around probably about like 14, 15 is when the gang thing pretty took off in Norview. So it kind of got very territorial inside of Norview, where you had certain parts of Norview that was Bloods, and you had certain parts that was Crips. So it began to, change, and, people started dying.
At what age I began carrying a gun was like when I was like 12 years old. Yeah, it was a 12-gauge shotgun. So when I was younger, my gun was mostly bigger than me, when I walked around with it. I used to wear like a poncho, and I would carry my shotgun around with me like that, so.
I started carrying the firearm at 12 years old, and reasons I started carrying it because I felt like that's what was going on in the neighborhood. That was the trend, and I wanted to be a part of it. I felt like it gave me power. It gave me respect. It made people analyze me. It caused fear that usually I couldn't get people to have, but when I had that gun, it made people fear me.
Did I need the gun? No, I didn't need the gun. I really didn't need it. It was almost like during that time wearing baggy pants, wearing the latest shoes. I put that gun on my hip every day with the latest name brand. Every day I did.
It didn't get serious until I had a friend, his name was Albert. He was murdered with his mom at rallies, at the drive-through. So, after that, it pretty much heightens it heightened everybody's awareness to, this thing is mandatory. It's no more neighborhood, type ordeal. It was more so like it's either you Blood or you Crip at the moment. So, everybody pretty much just started being, I never looked at it like it was an accessory. We looked at this thing like we needed this thing to survive,
It was just something that everyone was doing in my neighborhood because there's a lot of gangs where I'm from, so if you didn't have one, most likely if you're running with the wrong crowd, you're gonna get shot.
If I'd have known back then what I knew today, I'd have just put on the name brand that my mother provided for me and went to school.
That feeling that I had that first time, though, it never escaped me. I felt like I wanted to feel that again. The fights that we would get in or whatever altercations we would get into, I felt more confident in the fight even. The truth is of course, the gun didn't make me fight better, right? It didn't make me stronger in any way. The truth is especially looking back now and knowing better clearly, I could have really hurt somebody.
I say I was living an adult life because of the sense of power that gun gave me.
Made me feel unstoppable, like I can handle any situation that came my way.
And I remember when I first shot this guy when I was 13 years old, it kind of just felt a whole different person. I wasn't a kid no more, I felt like I'm grown. I understand what I'm doing now, understand what it smells like to pull the trigger, to feel it, and it's not funny, when you think about hurting other people with a shotgun,
Well, growing up, we used to call the gun insurance. So you always wanted to have your insurance with you, It made you felt like you had a fighting chance because everybody had a gun. So it wasn't like, it gave you any type of super feeling or super type of power. You just wanted it to even the battleground, so to speak.
Not only did I hang with the popular guys that were my age, but I hung with the guys who were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years older. I fit in with them as well because of that firearm.
When I picked up a firearm, I wanted to use it. I wanted to see what it bring me, right, when I pulled that trigger. So it wasn't the fact that I wanted to scare somebody just to carry the firearm. When I picked up that firearm, I wanted to use it. I wanted to be able to pull that trigger and release stress. I felt like that was a stress reliever, making people run, making people scared. You know what I mean? People actually knowing, oh, he just ain't gonna flash the gun, he gonna use that gun. So that was the thing that built me up, that made me want to carry it even more, knowing when you actually use it, it bring a little more difference than just flashing it.
The gun that I had on my hip that I hosted on my hip, I could go anywhere. I could do anything.
Once you use it, it like bring out a whole different person and you feel like you're an animal, feel like you're unstoppable, feel like can't nothing contain you no more.
Once you start getting involved in that kind of thinking and you start carrying that gun, you want to use it. You want to use it. You want to know what it feels like. So now, the ego getting fed, right? Because your friends looking up to you. You done shot the gun the first time and nobody never shot a gun. If you're not careful, people will use that against you, right? So if they know that you're super loyal and authentic and genuine, they'll come get you when they got an issue. And they haven't even addressed it yet, but they know like, hey, shit, he'll shoot, he'll fight, I'm gonna get this guy. So now, again, this fake family, I'm gonna call it, they're using you for their benefit. It ain't because of the love and loyalty or nothing like that. It's because I know that you're a crash dummy. I know that if I need you to do something crazy, you're gonna do it. And I only say with me because a lot of the times, honestly, I've showed up to situations where things have happened prior to me, and then when I get there and I see that it's somebody I care about, I'm jumping out the window doing all this crazy stuff, and I look over and either he gone, or he not fighting, or he's somewhere hiding, until I eventually got around some guys, you know, that were like me, and then that's when the real problem started.
My family became aware that I was carrying a gun, I would say around 13. My aunt, I had sat down in her house and she seen what appeared to be a gun in my pocket. And she asked me, did I have a gun? And I looked at her, I said, you tripping. I said, go ahead, man, I ain't got no gun. What is you talking about? She said, you got a gun on you, don't you? And I told her no, so she called my mother. My mama told me to come home. I walked home, and I walked home with my best friend at the time. And I told him, I said, look, I'm gonna go in the house. My mama wanna see if I got a gun. I said, here, you hold this gun. And I went inside the house. My mother, she asked me that I have a gun. So I told her I didn't have no gun. I lied to her.
My mom never talked to me about carrying a gun. I mean, even the crime that I'm in here for now, and the people that nobody would never believe the things that I was into.
I was mostly raised up by my grandparents because my mom was hardly ever around. She was always running around somewhere. So it kind of like raised myself. There was no discipline. There was like no time frame. Like my mom later on became like almost like my friend. You know, we were both on ankle monitors at the same time. I was like 12, 13 years old. I was in and out of juvie. I don't even remember a time when my mom ever said that she loved me.
My mom, she was a young woman, not fully mature, raising kids. So it was like 5, 6 of us at the time in one household. So, you know, we ain't had the best. And to me, in my young visual mind, her best wasn't enough for me. So it was kind of hard. I wanted Jordans, I wanted other things that other kids had, but I couldn't get it because I had a feast of brothers and sisters. And then my mom, she wasn't really mature yet in her own state to be able to give me the things I needed, so I took to the streets.
I've picked up 3 gun charges when I was 12, 13, and 14. So my mom knew that I was having guns. I even brought guns into my house. But like I said, my mom wouldn't care.
A week later, there was a shooting on my street, and I pulled, when that shooting occurred, I pulled that gun out to protect my mother. I pulled that gun out, and there was the first time that my mother knew that I carried a firearm.
When I was young, I was like so angry. You know, I was angry at the fact that, like, all my friends, they had their moms and their dads. And that's what kind of confused me because I didn't have nobody at my house. You know, so just me and my brother and my 2 little brothers and my sister. So when I was 12 and 13, me and my older brother were taking care of our little brothers and sisters.
When I started sneaking outside and she used to catch me standing around with the older guys, I think at that point she should have intervened because that what got me right there at that point. When I was able to sneak out and come back in and it was nothing said. Hey, them guys they negative, they don't mean you no good. They life is gonna end up in prison or in the death. You know, that's all that fear in me. I didn't have that fear. You know, so At that point, if she not stepping in and influencing me with something different, then that's what I'm gonna hold on to, that this was the right thing to do.
My house got shot at a few times. My mom's took me to go shoot somebody's house up before, you know, so yeah, I mean.
Being a product of their environment, the streets, wanting respect, wanting to be like the older kids that's already in the neighborhood, right? Because they don't have nothing else to hold on to. Gangs, the influences that the gun have, that power that I was talking about. This would make people want to grab a gun and use it, that power.
From 13 until my incarceration at 15, I carried a firearm with me. Like the days that I carried a firearm with me before I was 13 and exposed that firearm to my mother. I carried that gun every day until my demise, my self-inflicted demise.
Me and my brother back hanging out a lot together again and stuff like that. And a situation came up where he owed some money to the court. We come up with this bright idea we're gonna rob somebody or something to get it. Right, so after a few conversations, we was like, hey, look, we know this spot, no cameras. And this is how you know when you're outside of yourself and you're doing something you probably shouldn't be doing. Seeing the camera. Camera was never there before. I looked up at the camera and saw it. And that's the picture that actually was in the paper. The first thing I remember observing was that the lady was pregnant and she was super scared. When you put a gun in somebody's face, their life will never be the same again. Now, at the time I had a job. I had money in my pocket literally at the time that I could have gave them that could have helped them. I only got $325 that I had to split with my brother, who then took it to court and still went to jail because it didn't satisfy the back child support. So I asked myself, was it worth it? Just to think that I was naive enough to believe that putting a gun in that lady's face would not impact her at all was dumb. Shame, definitely guilt, embarrassed, especially for my family, People just not thinking, honestly. They're not taking that 2 seconds and 3 seconds before they make that decision and just think about really what they're about to risk. You lose your life, lose a friend, lose your freedom. It's always something to lose.
There was a night that I had engaged in an altercation with a group of guys. I was supposed to be doing what kids do. I was in a juvenile environment where kids go for fun. That altercation occurred and my mind, I'm not to be messed with. I'm not to be played with. I got in my vehicle with my boy. I got in my vehicle and they got in their vehicle. It appeared to me that either I was getting ready to get hurt or my boy was getting ready to get hurt. The mentality that I had my gun for a reason. I was gonna use it. I fired that gun, and I fired that gun, and I fired that gun. My first intention was I had a belief that people were around, but I couldn't see nobody but the person that I was focused in on. I fired that gun initially just to get out of that situation. Because the objective is only to get out of a situation. That's what that gun is for, is to get out of a situation. I continued to fire that gun. I continued to fire that gun. The big question was, who fired the bullet that killed my friend? And it was me. It was me.
Caused my life. Caused my life, causing me to be able to lose my family, be in prison forever, or not be able to use the bathroom when I want to, not be able to eat what I want to, not be able to go to the store, not be able to hug my kids and tell them I love them, not to be able to see them go through school and make good grades. It caused me everything. It caused me to see family members die while I was in prison and I can't be there to give my condolences, my help, my love. You know, it just caused me everything. It caused me more drama, more trouble than it did happiness. So since picking up that gun, but it caused me a life of turmoil, a life of trying to give back.
Out of the many times that I've discharged the firearm, that was the first time that firearm hurt one of the many people that I said that I would protect, which was my friend. Yeah, I killed my friend using that firearm. The biggest mistake of my life. The biggest mistake.
And I got sent away for juvenile life. I was there from 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I signed my papers. Literally 2 months later, I turned 20. And I think to myself, I have no kids. I have no legacy that people, as a man, say, man, I want to have someone to carry my name, someone that's going to talk about me later to their family. I don't have none of that. I'm 38 years old, been down 18 years, and I ain't got nobody out there that can say, Dad, my dad has done this, my dad's accomplished a lot of these things. I have none of that, you know, and it hurts me a lot to think about it, you know, because everyone just don't realize the depth of it until it happens to you, you know.
When they repossessed that firearm, they took that firearm from me. The crowd that I was with, they left. The older crowd, they left. I was put inside a detention center with children my age. When I looked around, there wasn't nobody older. The only people that was older was staff. Correctional officers. They were the only ones that were grown. Everyone around me was children. When I looked around, I realized that all of us was the same. We were all equal. We were all vulnerable. We were all immature. We were all kids who had made a bad decision. Until then, I didn't realize that that's what I was, a child. I was looking for my mother. Like the rest of the kids around me, we were all looking for our mother. We had all become our natural self.
So when I first came home from prison, I had a plan, right? It was a really good friend of mine. His dad is a pastor. He felt like I would be instrumental in helping the youth at the church, and he wanted to move me to Maryland to be mentored by him. One particular night, I'm in the car, and I get a call from an old friend. And he was like, you know, basically, in street terms, what he said was, hey man, I got a lick. Now, a lick is basically like a robbery or an opportunity to come up. I had been through this course called Thinking for a Change, where it tells you kind of to pay attention to the way that you're thinking in high-risk situations. I'm working with this pastor to talk to the youth about stop shooting. I'm driving down to Virginia, going in every prison in Virginia, talking all this good talk, and here it is, I'm laying in the car, planning my next robbery. But for the first time in my life, I'm like, wait a minute, you want to do what now? And so as he's talking, his voice kind of fades out, and I'm just hearing what I'm thinking. I decided to not do it. He decided to do it. And he's currently serving a life sentence for that robbery. Right after that, actually, I got a call to work with DLC. They were having a cognitive counselor graduation, and I gave a speech at it, and I did really good. The people really took to the message. She called me right after. She was like, how would you like to work for the Department of Corrections? I never in a million years would think that the prison that I was incarcerated in, that I would be walking through there in a suit with a state-issued ID, but more importantly, there to help men that I was just incarcerated with. Now I get to really come and give them the real conversation about what does this look like.
Let's talk about this cognitive community in you right now. Thinking for a change, process groups, all this stuff that you're not paying attention to.
Real key to the work that I was doing was that we were able to find groups of people who used to live the lifestyle but had made a change. Those individuals have credibility in their communities based on their old lifestyle. Once we get those individuals and we train them on the trauma-informed care, the cognitive stuff, and then they learn how to deliver it in a way that people can receive it, we then send them into the community and then they help make the change. Community is the agent of change. So if we're gonna ever see any real change in the community has to get involved.
The goal of that training session with Youth Advocate Program employees is to establish a universal language and protocols on how to intervene when violent crime takes place.
Typically, we respond to violent occurrences. So we're discussing like in real time, what does that look like? Old scenarios as far as like how to respond to a shooting in the community. It hurts me really to think that people think that really nobody really loves you, you know? It's always somebody willing. And I'm just so grateful for me that people were willing to love me and give me a second chance and give me opportunities to prove that I was worthy to have the chance, you know, to be successful, to live.
It's one thing about carrying that gun. Eventually you're gonna use it. You're gonna use that gun eventually. Everyone tell you, pull a trigger. Fire until it's everything in there gone. Just keep shooting, keep shooting. Everyone tell you that. That's what's hot, that's what's cool. No one ever really tells you the truth though. I'm gonna tell you the truth. You ain't gonna be able to hide. You fire that gun, you ain't gonna be able to hide. During the time, that ain't gonna be the worst way that you gonna pay. The worst way you gonna pay is, you gonna be just like me. Trying to find something good on the inside. When you wake up in the morning, you gonna look around and it ain't gonna be who sleeps over top of you, who sleeps next to you. It ain't gonna be that's gonna bother you the most. It's gonna be what you done with that gun that's gonna bother you the most. It hurt. I'm gonna tell you it hurt. Ain't no joy in it. Ain't no joy in it. None. Anyone that's ever done it, they feel the same way I feel, but they ain't gonna tell you that.
Having a gun there is so quick. It's the way the situation is. It happens so fast sometimes. And you don't know that you shot somebody because they run from you, right? Until you find out that he died as soon as he went somewhere, right? And people might not understand that until when you shoot somebody and they run off, you're thinking, oh, okay, I'm all right, you know? Because you get scared. You don't know if you killed somebody. But if the guns weren't there, we can at least be able to be like, damn, man, this is really what we're doing. We're shooting each other over what? A confrontation at a red light. You know, you can really sit back and say, man, that was stupid. It was unnecessary.
It's hard to just, you know, to think it's like one word you could say, because even though I lost my friends, it never put me in the mind state of like, you know, I need to put this gun down. Until I helped my mother with that obituary and help her plan my brother's funeral, his belongings. When you start getting into that aspect, or, you know, when those detectives reach out to you and they're talking about what happened, how the body looked and things like that, until you go through some real life experiences, I think that's when they'll actually get it. But it's really no one word you could say other than, you know, you should think about, you know, the harmful effects that come from using these particular firearms.
The moment I grabbed that gun when I was 12 years old, I wasn't thinking about today, you know? I wasn't thinking about a life sentence. You know, when you hear people go to prison, you think, man, they go to prison for like 8, 9 years, they come back out. You know, no one thinks about the first time you go to prison, you've just turned 20, and you're got a whole life sentence to do in prison. I wish I could tell myself then that it's not all fun and games running around with a gun until the moment you kill somebody.
The guy I am now, telling the 12-year-old me, this ain't the lifestyle you want to live. You know, it have no promise of ending. It's a better future. This gun caused the wrong kind of legacy. The real type of legacy is being a man, fulfilling your obligations of being a man, set a foundation that people can learn and grow from, get a community something. I would tell myself that you're gonna lose and cause more harm to yourself than you win in your game. The respect that you think you build is really not respect, it's fear. But the opposite will cause you the respect and the honor that people always gonna remember and wanna be a part of.
The hardest part for people, I think, is when they make the change, right? When your life is changing, things are on the up and up, you know, you still feel that loyalty to people, right? And if those people haven't made the change that you've made, you're gonna get in a real sticky situation where you're gonna have to choose this new life that you created or loyalty to those guys that you say that you love and care about. In my opinion, loyalty expires, right? There comes a time where as you grow, you can't take everybody with you. As you start growing and becoming a different person, you can't hang with those people that you used to hang with no more. This life is different now. And I can't make the decisions I used to make. I can't be comfortable in the places I used to be comfortable in because I have so much to lose.
I'm coming through the second light here. I'm about to be pulling up on you right now.
All right. You're gonna see me standing outside. I'm in a black coat.
What's going on, man? Yes, good to see you.
See you, man. Doing the great works. Doing the great works,
Hey,
man.
You know, I guess I've created a standard in my life now where if anybody's not operating inside of that standard, then I don't really associate with them. If you're not here, if my standard is here and you're not willing to rise to this, to have this conversation or to be involved in my life, then you can't be a part of my life, man. I'm sorry. That's just the standard. I'm not willing to compromise that anymore. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And this is Joe Miller, man. This is my other brother, man. Like, this is my real brother. We grew up together, man. Like, came up together as adolescents, did all the stupid stuff from boyhood, and now we're here in manhood, and this man has just been doing great works in the community. Unfortunately, a lot of people were not taught conflict resolution. We're dealing with conflict resolution, lack of communication skills, lack of resources, you know, drug addiction. So we don't even have the basic faculties to converse with each other. A lot of these youngsters, they think it's about competition opposed to like collaboration. Comparing and competition. What do you got on? What do you got on? And this also leads to the gun violence because I'm comparing. But comparison is the thief of all joy. One of my favorite quotes, right?
A lot of young people are going to see this. Yeah. So if you had to say anything to the young people, what would you say?
Just take a moment to think before you make just thinking. Before you make a split-second decision, think. And think of the effect it's going to have. Because I have friends to this day, they're never coming home. But your right now determines your future. You know, we're in this shop because at a certain point in my life, I understood that every decision I was making, I could create a new future for myself. So I began to make better decisions.
Every day, literally all day, it seemed like I don't even want to watch the news no more like this.
This is what's really happening. Like, your team is formulated because you, as much as you're doing, you can't do it all on your own.
Hey, look, this is the thing though.
You're doing the work, bro. That's it. It's about doing the straight work because at the end of the day, these youngsters are starting to see that, yo, there's people that care about us. There's people that are like me. Right. It's like, I can be like that. Like, instead of looking out the door and seeing the neighborhood drug dealer or the neighborhood trapper as the hero or the neighborhood shooter as the hero, nah, the neighborhood author, the neighborhood, social worker or the mental health therapist or the entrepreneur, that's what's gonna inspire them.
If you don't know how to take that stop and for like the 2 or 3 seconds and really pay attention to how you thinking, things can get completely out of control. Jails, institution, and death, that's real. Like that's usually the end result for people who choose the lifestyle.
I went to prison when I was 17, 18 years old. Right. You know, so when I got back out and we were in the streets, I didn't want to see my friends go through that.
I think honestly now, there's not a lot of friends and there's not a lot of people willing to be brave enough to say, we don't gotta take it that far. But what I do know and what I'm concerned about is that as you continue to do it, that feeling of that don't feel right start going away. And now you start getting numb to that, and you start learning how to hide it, and it makes you capable of doing it more. And that's not good. And the truth is then when it happens to one of your friends and your people, you know, it hurt. But now because you caught up in this way of living, you feel like that's the only way to solve the issue, and it's not.
So this is why we're seeing this rapid crime wave of gun violence, because any little thing sets somebody off, they can automatically grab their, you know, with no thought.
Yeah.
So we've been there, and we've lived through it.
It's some people that's gonna see this that survived it, and just know that if you made it, then you got a purpose, man. Figure out what that is and do your thing. For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, brother. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah,
I love you, man. I'm proud of you. Let's continue the great work.
You know, it was a lot of opportunities for me to use the gun and take a person's life, and I'm just really grateful, honestly, that I had those one or two real friends that really cared about me for real and was like, nah, man, you shouldn't do that. I don't want you to do that.
When you start to realize that you're losing people left and right to gun violence, then you really sit back, and then now you've had a time to think in this cell, and you're like, how many people have you lost? How many people are you continue to lose by carrying guns and shooting each other? You know, there's a lot to live for. I really don't got a lot to live for, but I wake up every day, and this opportunity was right here, was the best thing that I can say, yeah, I'm ready to help out someone out there in need.
It's not just so much that I'm in here just doing my time, because I'm regretful every day for everything I did. And so that's my motivation, that to change lives in a positive way. I done changed so many lives in a negative way, and I know what that did to me. So I'm trying to figure out how to change lives in a positive way and see what that do to me. I don't want another kid to grow up without a father because of me. I don't want nobody to look at me and say, yeah, he was this gang member, he was out here shooting and he was doing this, and I want to be like him. Because what they do affect me, because I'm the cause of it. I hope with this and reaching out to society that they can take this and say, man, you know what? If he changed, if he did this, if he feel like this, if he think like that, if that affect them like this and he lost this, then I don't want to go through what he went through. Let me do something different now. Let me do what he's preaching for me to do, not what he did.
When I was growing up, to be put off for like not having your mom or having nobody with you, I was in a different aspect of my life. Like I didn't understand what empathy was, or I had no consideration for nobody, you know? All I wanted to be was a gangster. And I know it might sound funny, but like I was the person that was running around, shooting your house. I just didn't care, you know? But now that I sit here and I think about everything that I'm doing, that serving a life sentence, the moment my brother got killed, and the way it affected my family, it affected me. You know, to your grandma to say, I seen when they shot your brother right outside my porch. And I think about that moment, what I did to put me here, open up my eyes and say, if you don't take it serious, it's the moment when it's gonna happen to you and you're gonna realize, man, I should have been paying attention because it's real.
I'm with anything that help cleans up the community. And it's the things that's not said that speaks more volumes than the things that's said. So it's either you're a part of the problem or a part of the solution, and I definitely want to make it known that I'm a part of the solution. You know, I'm definitely against all acts of violence and any type of wrongdoing that's done in the community. So I want to be an advocate and let it be known that I'm on team good.
Why did I want to be a part of this? Because I've been 15 before. I've been a 15-year-old before that carried a gun. I've been reckless. I've been immature. I've been that child that has cost my community. I've cost the life of my friend. I've cost the life of my friend's family. And I've cost my family. I want that 15-year-old, that 14-year-old, that 16-year-old. I want the young men on their way to local jails, the young men in local jails, the young kids in detention centers or on their way to detention centers. I want you to look at me. I want you to see yourself. I am a product of what carrying a gun does. This is who you are if you carry that gun. If you 15, I am you. I'm 38 now. I left when I was you.
First, let me say this. I remember not valuing my life. I remember being depressed. I remember contemplating suicide, and just feeling like life was over with. No matter what I did, it seemed like it wouldn't work. No matter what I put my hands on, I couldn't fix stuff. I couldn't work. I couldn't maintain a relationship. Like it just snowballed into like a whole bunch of nothing. The truth was though, it's always somebody that cared though. That's the first thing that I had to realize, but I just wasn't open to it. So really when I was able to kind of slow down and start listening to the people that was trying to pour into me and be open to that, whether it was stranger, because sometimes it ain't a family member. Sometimes it's a person you meet in the facility who sees something in you that you don't see in yourself that say, hey, listen, you deserve a chance, right? And the fact that I wasn't willing to give myself a chance, I never could get nothing good out of anything. It was a saying that we used to say, I was chasing the wrong thing so long that the right thing couldn't catch me. So when I was able to just sit still, deal with myself, allow the help, right? Because the help is there. It was allowing somebody else to see that value in me and then allowing them to share it with me and then allowing people to point me in the right direction and give me what I needed.
When you're dead set on doing the right thing and you do the right things, good things do start happening. And so, it's hard for something good to happen to you when all you're putting out is negative energy. I didn't make my change when I got out of prison. I made my change in prison. And a lot of people are gonna find themselves having to make the decision to change in the moment while they're actively involved in it. And that's gonna be the key. And if you're able to make that change under those circumstances, then sky's the limit. I'm always amazed at what people can do when they choose to and when they put the real effort into doing it.
And it's real uncomfortable because, you lose friends, you lose family members, you have people that don't believe in the change, right? When I started blocking that stuff out and stopped paying attention to the don'ts and paying attention to the do's and the yes you cans instead of the no you can'ts and stuff like that, that's when I felt like the real change and the breakthrough was happening for me.
I don't think I ever growing up realized the power that I had to kind of control my life as far as my attitude or the way that I was feeling. When I was able really to lock in on that, like my life for real changed.
Hello.
What's up, big guy?
Not much.
You at the house or you at work?
It really hurt me to find out the struggle my parents went through. Because my dad wasn't coming as frequent as I probably would have liked him to, I don't think I understood that he didn't want to see me in that place. A lot of times, you get so selfish when you locked up, but the truth was, and I know my dad loved me to death, but it was because he didn't want to see me in that situation.
Lord, then, I'll see you at the house then.
All right.
Okay, Dad. I guess the thing I never thought about that's great now is that, this ride feels a lot different when you're on the right side of things, right?
I remember literally the day of court, my mom was actually supposed to testify on my behalf and she couldn't do it. And so my dad had to do it. And my dad a strong guy, and he ended up breaking down on the stand and crying and stuff because they asked him where he think he went wrong. And I wanted to bring that up because I feel like a lot of parents take ownership for what their kids do. And the truth is, kids have what they need a lot of times poured into them. They know right from wrong. They know the decisions that they're making are not good. but because of their circumstances for some people, but because of the way we thinking a lot of times too, they still choose to make the decision.
You would want to start in the communities where the gun violence is actually happening. You want to, the guys that people analyze, right? There where you want to start at. You want to start at with all the top gang members, all the people that's drug dealing, doing things that carrying a gun that everybody look up to. Because the people who already setting the standards is the people that coming up want to be like. So you got to start already right there. Then if you start right there, then you can reach the ones that's at the bottom.
The dance team, cheerleading, football, basketball, all these things I know that they cost. But we can't afford to strip the child of their dreams. We got to feel that free time. We got to fill that free time with something positive. Not video games, but something positive, activity. And be more actively involved in your child's life.
We gotta have better people in the community, right? And people who's not afraid to pull people to the side and say, look, you standing on the corner with them drugs and that gun in your pocket. Look, this was gonna get you, man. You know, but you can take this route here. I got this school open up so you can get some type of vocational trade. You can learn how to cut hair. You can learn how to fix motors. You can do something productive in your life. That's what we need. That's what we lacking in the communities. People influence people in a positive way.
Oh, good. Yeah, we just pulled up to the house. I'll see you when you get here.
All right.
Okay.
I'm extremely proud of him. Been grinding ever since he got out. So,
Yeah.
you know, non-stop. Take it to the next level.
When you grow up in a neighborhood where violence is high and drug use and sale are high, you know, you gotta almost kind of hide who you are to survive. And then eventually you get lost in that person, so you don't even know who you are for real.
You probably ain't never have to deal with nothing like that as far as learning how to support somebody going through something like that. Like, we just used to, if it happened, it happened. Yep. You know, you love them, and then when it's over with, you know, you glad for it to be over with.
If we really pay attention to what's been going on, what we've been doing, it hasn't been working, so we have to try something different. The one thing that I would attest to being a solution is collaboration. Get with other parents. Get with parents who've already been in the situation. And again, seek out those people in your community who you know are doing work that helps decrease gun violence. Connect with them and get some help for yourself or for your family.
You know, you kind of get taught to, you know, what happened in this house, stay in this
Stay
house.
in the house, yeah.
You know, and so that kind of shuts you down from wanting to get outside help, because it's like you telling your family business.
Yeah.
We all need some help at some point, and it's okay to accept it. It doesn't say anything about what kind of parent you are or what kind of a person you are because you're asking for or need the help. Get the help.
What would you say about that feeling of if you could have did something more, you could have did something different and all of that, as far as decisions we making, and how that made you feel as a parent, knowing that we was doing all that, even though you knew we knew better?
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah. That's tough. Because, you know, even though, you know, you give them the right guidance and they still go to the left, you hope for them to get back in the middle. Yeah, that's real tough on the parent. Because every night you saying, what could I have done different? To where he wouldn't have been in that situation that he was in. Could I spend more time with him? What was it? And then, I'll never get this, he wrote me a letter. And he said, Dad, it wasn't nothing you did, because you told us what to do. You told us the right way. And he said, we chose to do wrong. And that was the best feeling in the world right there. Yep.
That's all right.
Where we at now in society with these guns, there ain't no right or wrong conversation with your child. The conversation ain't gonna be uncomfortable for you. I'm talking to the moms and dad. It ain't gonna be uncomfortable for you. It's gonna be uncomfortable for your child. I know that you want to do right by your child. I know that there's nothing you won't do to raise your child up right, to raise your children up right. You gotta have these conversations. You gotta ask the questions. That's your duty. That's your duty. Protect your children. Not only from people in the streets, in the neighborhood, school. Sometimes you gotta protect your child from themselves.
That's a tough one, right? I think they should get them help, pay them more attention, right? Because a lot of young guys that's picking up firearms at early ages, their parents really ain't paying them attention, and they really not giving them nothing. So I think when their parents see that, they need to start giving them counselor, getting them help right then and there, paying more attention to them, giving them something positive in their life. That'll stop a lot. Because when they have nothing, they'll just keep growing and grabbing onto what they got.
I wish that she would have turned me over. And I know it would, because that's my mother. I know it would hurt her. But I wish that she would have known that it would have did a greater good than harm to turn me over. You got to do the greater good sometime. You got to do it. It hurt. It hurt. But it'll hurt more to see your child go to prison, or the dishonorable thing, bury your child. The success story is your child bury you. That's the way it's supposed to be.
When you're involved in the street life, man, and you are, shooting at people and getting shot at and all this crazy stuff going on, you never really know if tomorrow coming, and you never know if you're gonna get to enjoy the sunset again, sitting on the porch, or being able to, the family functions and all of that. So being able to come outside all of that, is a good feeling. But I just wish that I didn't have to go through all of that to get this. And you don't. Don't keep wasting your days. I really want to just leave it with that. It's a lot of life to live. So first of all, man, I want to thank myself for all the hard work and dedication I put into me, you understand? No, seriously though. Thank me, man. Good job, buddy.
Learn how to love yourself. Look inside. When do we stop the cycle of not loving ourselves? When do we stop the cycle of mistreating ourselves and hurting ourselves? Because the truth is if you don't learn how to love yourself, nobody will ever be able to love you. My mom and my dad, they stuck through it the whole time. My mom hustling, making sure we get to see the kids, and my dad sending that money and he writing those encouraging words, and definitely, when I got out, friends, they stopped by, making sure I had clothes, and I mean, it's endless, man, and so, I just feel like I really owe this debt to my community and to my people to do good, and that's kind of really what the source of my energy is when it comes to doing this work. You can never really fully repay, but I can at least right some of my wrongs with some of this work I'm doing, and I'm excited for that. Yeah. My main man. Yeah.
I would tell the young men, young women, the parents out there to look at me and ask yourself, when you wake up in the morning, when you free and you roll out the bed the way you want to roll out the bed, and you go in that restroom, that bathroom, and you look yourself in the mirror, ask yourself, do you want to be me sitting here doing an interview, or you want to be in society free, making a change or doing better? Because right now, I'm at my all-time worst. and it don't get no better than this. So while you got a choice, look at yourself and ask yourself, you either in or you out? And if you want to be in, then that's a stupid decision. Because I want to be out.